Today, we have a launch date for new CPUs, Ryzen 7000 3D parts, Nvidia officially dropped prices on their 4000 cards, and the first overclocked RX 7900 XTX and 7900 XT. Welcome everyone to Gamer Melt. First up for today, it looks like we finally have a potential launch date for AMD's upcoming non-X models. The story comes from WCCF Tech, and according to them, AMD will launch 3 models on January 10th, these being the Ryzen 9 7900, Ryzen 7 7700, and Ryzen 5 7600. According to the leak, that January 10th date is when we can expect these on retail shelves, so I'm assuming AMD plans to actually announce the CPUs before that, likely during CES. As for pricing, they're looking at $429 for the 7900, $329 for the 7700, and $229 for the 7600. Now, that wouldn't be bad given the original pricing of AMD's 7000X parts, but given these have received a pretty big price cut, it's not looking as good. So either AMD will raise the prices of their original parts, or they could release the non-X parts at lower prices, or maybe they go on sale right after they're released. I'm not sure, but hopefully these will come at even lower prices. Time, as always, will tell. But first, the holidays are coming. Christmas, New Year's, all the fun, and with it, Micro Center is getting into the spirit with great deals this season, along with a deal just for my viewers. And they've sponsored this video so I can tell you all about it. If you haven't heard about Micro Center, you've got to check them out. They're where I got the parts for my first PC build, and I've driven hours just to go to their store. It's worth it because they have everything you could want right there. Tons of motherboards, cases, GPUs, CPUs, and even custom water cooling. But what's even better is that they have a ton of deals starting today, like this Quad HD 170Hz monitor for $150 off, or this notebook for $390 off. And not only that, but first-time customers can get $25 off any CPU, AMD or Intel. Just fill this out to get the coupon, visit your nearest Micro Center, and you get $25 off. For all of those savings, check out my links in the description below. Next up for today, it looks like we have some new leaks on AMD's upcoming Ryzen 7000 X3D series. Starting things off, we have info from a new stream by Quasar Zone that was translated by this Twitter user. Now, according to the story, they shared 3 exclusive details on the upcoming parts. First is that there are 3 Ryzen 7000 X3D parts, a 16-core, 12-core, and 8-core, meaning that earlier rumor claiming that we wouldn't see these higher core count CPUs is likely wrong. Now, when it comes to the 8-core part, they claim that AMD isn't sure about it being the 7700X3D or 7800X3D. Second is that the clock speeds will apparently be the same or almost the same, unlike the 5800X3D. Finally, they claim that it's expected in January of 2023, so we're talking CES. Not only that, but according to WCCF Tech's Hassan, all of the X3D parts are 170 watts. Of course, the 7900X and 7950X are already 170 watts, so these two aren't much of a surprise. But the 7700X is only 105 watts, so that X3D part is definitely a big difference. Maybe they plan to up the clocks a bit for that one, I'm not sure, but it will definitely be exciting to see what these can do even at the same clocks, and especially with the higher core count parts. Intel could have something to worry about. Next up, it's happened. Nvidia has officially dropped the prices on both their RTX 4090 and RTX 4080 GPUs. Now, it's currently only in Europe, but there's also word on a price cut elsewhere, which I'll get to in a second. First, on Europe's price cuts, while they are more expensive than the US, that's because they have VAT tax. With that said, these price cuts could at least partially be because the euro is gaining ground on value against the dollar, but it could also be that Nvidia's RTX 4080 isn't exactly selling all that well. Plus, let's not forget that AMD's 7900 series is set to hit shelves soon, not to mention the fact that Nvidia may have sold off a lot of their XS 3000 series stock. It could be a mixture of all of these, but either way, it's good to see a price drop of any kind. As far as the prices, we first have the RTX 4080, which went from €1,469 to €1,399, and the RTX 4090 went from €1,949 to €1,859. Of course, these are still astronomically expensive, so I wouldn't exactly suggest them, but luckily, according to Chinese board channels, the 4080 will get a price adjustment mid-December. That source apparently claims that that it's not because of RDNA 3, but from its own considerations. Of course, part of the reason sales are likely down is because buyers are hoping to pick up one of AMD's new cards. So this idea that it's not due to the 7900 series is likely wrong to an extent. Either way, price cuts are here and more could be on the way. And lastly for today, we finally get to see specs of the first overclocked RX 7900 series cards. That's right, ASUS is the first company to reveal details of their custom GPUs, including clocks. Starting things off, we have their tough gaming RX 7900 XTX OC edition. As we already know, it comes with 24GB of GDDR6 at 20 gigabits per second and 6144 stream processors. But this edition comes with 3 8-pin power connectors, so it can pull quite a bit more wattage than AMD's reference cards. It also comes with a recommendation for at least an 850 watt PSU. But the main thing you want to see is of course the overclocking performance. And here we see the overclock mode gets up to 2650 MHz boost clock and 2455 MHz gaming clock. And that's about 4.6% faster than the stock boost clock and 6.7% faster than the stock gaming clock. And while that's obviously not bad, it also begs the question of that over 3 GHz slide we saw a little while back, and I'm seeing some misconceptions about that. Some people think it was just some rumor or that AMD never shared the slide, but in fact that slide is 100% official, and AMD did share it, but it was shared in the slides that were only showed to press after the reveal with a different embargo. Luckily it is up, so I can show that here. Now that leaves the question of where 3 GHz is, and I think there's two possibilities. First, that there's a much more powerful GPU coming, and there likely will be a refresh at some point, but I'm not sure if it'll get that high. The more likely scenario is that the lower end cards can get there. Remember that the clocks on say the 6600 XT were way higher than the 6900 XT. In fact, the 6600 XT comes with higher clocks than even the 7900 XTX, so it's likely the lower end parts that'll get above 3 GHz. Of course, we'll have to see what kind of custom overclocking this card can do, but for now, I wouldn't expect too much more than this. Moving to the tough 7900 XT OC, we can see it gets a boost clock of 2535 MHz and a gaming clock of 2175 MHz, which are 5.6% and 8.7% faster respectively. At the end of the day, this isn't as good as I would have liked to see, but it's still a decent boost over stock clocks. So while that does it for today, what GPU are you hoping to pick up? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to save money at Micro Center down in the description below. And as always, have a great day.